Are you ready to finish the quilt top? Let's do it. It is time. Hey everyone, Cristin here, and today we are going to finish our quilt top for spring showers. That is the plan. So to do that, the first thing that we are going to do is to get our quilt top that has the sashings and the inner border already all sewn on, and then you're going to take a tape measure and measure the width of your quilt. So everyone may be a little bit different, a little bit different compared to like how you do your 1/4 inch seam allowance, or maybe if you stabilized or not, it might pull in. I don't know, but either way, don't use my measurements, use yours. So figure out what your quilt top measures. So mine was a tiny bit under 32.5. If I recall, I measured it last night. So about 32.5 for mine. And then you're going to cut your strips. So for your strips, we are using, let's see, this minty teal aqua color of fabric. It is the doodle fabric. I think it's called doodles. I'm not absolutely sure about that. But it comes in one big strip, and what I did is I went ahead and I put fusible stabilizer, the Kimberbell fusible backing, onto the entire strip. To me, that made it easier because this, we use pretty close to all of it, not really, but either way, I'm careful all the rest of the time with my fabric pieces, and on the borders, I generally just do the whole thing. So it makes it easier for cutting, in my opinion. So you are going to cut these. You're going to have 4 strips that are 4.5 inches times the width of the fabric. So we're not going to use all that, but you want to cut the entire strip as the width of fabric. So you'll have 4 of these very long strips. All right, and then after you do that, I did, by the way, like I mentioned, I added fusible backing onto the entire thing, and then I cut. That made it easier, in my opinion. So do what works for you, but you want these 4.5 inches times the width of the fabric. And then you are going to get your batting. So for now, only cut 2 strips of your batting, because what we're going to do is we are going to cut 2 of these strips, the ones that are 4.5 by width of fabric. We're going to cut 2 of them to equal what we measured. Remember, we measured the top of our quilt, and like I said, mine was about 32.5 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to quilt 32 inches of this. I'm not going to trim it until I'm all the way done and ready to sew it onto the top, just to be sure. Because after we get our strips cut and ready, like I said, about 32 inches, measure your quilt. But what we're going to do is we are going to add those orange peel blocks that we did. Remember the orange peel blocks? So cute. So after we get this all quilted and we're piecing it together, we are going to add on our orange peel block to each of the ends of these 2 strips. So one at each end. And what you want to do, it's up to you, but if you look in the quilt picture, the cover, these are not all going the same direction. So you want to be able to orient them in however you want. You can match the cover photo, or you can change it up, whatever, but they aren't all the same. So like I wouldn't do them all the same because they're different on the quilt, and it kind of like frames the quilt. So that's my suggestion. And then, like I said, for your batting, I am going to go ahead and adhere the batting using the glue stick method that I showed in the inner borders and the sashing strips tutorial, and I'm going to go ahead and adhere them right to these border strips, and that makes it so that I can bypass those first 2 steps of quilting, and I'm not bringing the hoop on and off of the machine to trim. And it also makes it so that I can very accurately get exactly my 1/4 inch seam allowance on the top and each of the sides. So that makes it really easy for me. I like that on the borders, so that works well. And you just want to make sure that it does not go all the way to the end. You want to make sure that your batting strip is cut 1/2 inch smaller. So I cut mine to 4 inches by 30 inches, 32, sorry, 4 by 32. And as I get toward the end, when I'm pushing it down with the glue stick, it may need to be trimmed a little bit more. My guess is it probably will. But either way, I just don't want it to go all the way to the end, because if I do that, I'm taking away my seam allowance. So I just want it to go to 1/4 inch before the end of the strip. So that is what we're going to do today. We're going to work on these the outer borders. And for now, we're just going to start with the first two. And these are the top and the bottom. We will do the 2 sides after that. And don't forget your orange pill blocks. So I also, by the way, we're using Spring Border 1 for the quilting. I mentioned the batting already. For the quilting, it's Spring Border 1. That's the one with the wagons. It's super cute. And I made a little tutorial so that you can see the wagons, because there is a little bit of an issue. Some people are mentioning that depending on which size that you use, like if you use the 4x12 versus the 4x14 versus the 4x10, whatever, there is a little bit of difference because of it fitting in the hoop. So one of them, I believe it was the 4x10, the wagon is straight. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But some people were wanting it to all be the little waves that are on the first couple of wagons. And so that's fine. So I'm showing on Embrilliance Essentials on my computer, my little laptop computer, how you can merge them and sort them, color sort them. And also I'm showing the difference of the different options so that you can decide how you want to do yours. So anyway, that tutorial will be coming up right now, and that's it. Hey everyone, so I'm using my little travel computer today, but I wanted to show you, I am going to merge 2 of the strips for the outer borders into one hooping, and I wanted to show you a couple of things on that. So there was some question about the different design versions in the different size options, and so I just want to bring this to your attention. You can do however you want to do, but I just want to bring it to your attention. So I'm opening Embrilliance Essentials. Notice that it's yellow today because I am using my travel computer and I just downloaded it. So also I want to point out, that's one nice thing about Embrilliance Essentials is you can have it on multiple computers. So I just downloaded it and it opened right up to my account, so that worked really well. Same thing with Kimberbell. For the quilting designs, I didn't have the quilting design on my little travel computer from that bundle that I bought for the spring showers, and I was able to re-download that from Kimberbell's downloads page, so that worked out really nicely. All right, so I'm on Embrilliance Essentials. I am, let's see, what hoop am I on? Can't really see it because I'm on such a small monitor. It says 200 by 300 millimeters. So let's go ahead and go up here. So I showed you before how you can change if you're not a metric person, which I am not. So this says 200 by 300 millimeters, but down here at the bottom it says that's approximately an 8 by 12. So I'm going to go ahead and click Edit, and I'm going to change this to say 8 by 12, and I'm going to keep the metrics in there just in case I want it at some point, but I am just having it say 8 by 12 in front of that so that I can find it easily. So let me just show you a couple of things real quick here. I'm going to say OK, and I am going to bring in a design by clicking this Merge Stitch File button. So if I go to the borders, I'm looking for a 4-inch, and then I'm going to open a few options just so that you can see it. So here's a 4 by 10. I'll double click on that without moving the mouse. All right, so this is what the 4 by 10 looks like. All right, and it's got a nice little wiggle to it, if you can see that. So this is what I want to point out that others have mentioned and how to work around this. So this is good. This is a very nice look to it. So I'm going to hit File, New Page. Sorry, little computer. All right, and I am going to go to Merge Stitch File, and I'm going to choose, that was a 1 by 10, so, or not 1, sorry, 4 by 10. So I'm going to choose a 4 by 12, double click on that, and so you can see here. So this is what they were talking about. So see how this has a curve to it, and then this last one is straight. Okay, curvy wagon, curvy wagon, curvy wagon, straight. And so if you were to do 3 of the 1x10 design, not one, sorry, 4x10 designs, they will all have this curvy look to it. But the only negative with that is that if you do, what size is this? Let's see, I don't know. I actually can't see it. My guess is it's less than 10 inches. It's usually about 9.45, but I'm not sure. You should be able to tell right down here. Looks like mine is currently set to metric, and it's behind my screen recorder, so I really can't see it, but you may be able to. Anyway, so if it's less than 10 inches, that would be less than 30 inches when you do the 3 hoopings. And what you want to start with, like I mentioned, is you're going to measure out the width of your quilt. And mine measured 32.5. So I want a quilting design that's 30 inches, or 32 inches, sorry, 32 inches. So this would be a little short. That's not a big deal. You would just have a little bit of space in between them. But my preference personally would be to have it be longer of the quilting and just let the excess run off the end. So for me, I don't think I would do 3 of the 10 inch, although it's a cute design and it's the way that it's formatted, it looks really good. But my preference would be to get closer to 32 inches. Again, that's just my personal preference. So like I said, you could do this 1x12, but then you have this wagon that is straight. Doesn't really matter to me in all honesty, but some have mentioned that they don't like that. So I just want to point out some options. So let's open the 1x14. For those of you that have a big hoop, you have options, right? So while we're at it, we should open, did I say 1 again? Sorry, I keep saying 1 because we did the inner borders. But the 4x14, and there's also a 4x7. So those of you that have a 5x7 hoop, oops, sorry, I shouldn't have done it on there. I'll click undo, that would be an easy way. Okay, I'm just going to go to File, New Page so that we can see it easier. And then I'll open up the 5x7 for those of you that want to see a 5x7. Or those for a 5x7 hoop. It's really a 4x7, but it is for a 5x7 hoop. So here we have 4x10, there's the 4x7. So double click on that. And I want to point out, so see this one has the curve again. So this is something that we could consider, even those that have a bigger hoop, you might incorporate that in instead of using the 4x12, I believe was the straight one. Yeah, the 4x12. So 4x10 and 4x7 have the right curve to it. So I'm going to go to File, New Page, and I'm going to check the 4x14. So let's see, 4x14, and that one, go up here to hoop, since this little monitor, that's how it's going to look. So, oops, sorry. Oh, because I didn't change my hoop size. Sorry guys, tired. So if I go up here, I would need to change my hoop to larger. So it would probably be, what do I have? I have a 9x14, so it would be larger than 200 by 300. This is why I really like to have them named. So this is the 9x14. I'm going to go ahead and just quickly change the name to say 9x14 so I can find it easily next time if I'm on this computer again, and say okay. All right, and then I can go to the hoop. There we go. All right, so then you can see the whole design, and you can see that the 4x14 has the nice curve to it. So you could do multiples of this. So it's up to you. If you did 3 of the 10-inch designs, it would be 30 inches, less than 30 inches. If you did a 12 and then a 7 and then a 12, that would actually work out really well. So look at here. There's the 7. Where's the 12? Oh, the 12 actually is the one. This is the one with the straight. So, but if you look at what would come next, it would be a curve after the straight one, and it's got the umbrella. Oh, so the umbrella would be the same because it ends on an umbrella, and then the 12 or the 4x7 starts on the umbrella one. So I don't think I would want to do that. So I don't know what I'm going to do just yet. So if you did multiples of this 4x14, you would have this same design back to back because it ends on it and it starts on it. So you could do the 14 and the 7. That was this one. That would work. So you could, what you would do is you would do a 14 hooping, a 7 hooping, and then a 14 hooping. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So either way, we're going to have to do at least 3 hoopings. If you have a 5x7 hoop as your largest, it would probably be more than that. But depending on your hoop size, you would need to do at least 3 hoopings of a quilting design. And so you just want to look. This is all I want to point out is you want to look and see which multiples that you want. Like if you want them back to back, I wouldn't want this design back to back. So meaning the last one here and the first one of the second hooping. So I'm going to play around with it a little bit and decide which one works. I like the 14, 7, 14 idea. And actually, if you did that, it would total up to 35. So for mine, you have to measure the width of your quilt. And for mine, it's 32.5. And so I want 32 inches, so I would just let the extra 3 inches run off of the end. But this would make it so that I don't have multiples back to back. So 14, 7, 14. I probably will do that. Not sure, but that's probably what I will do. So I have that big hoop, a 10x16. So let's see if I can find that. Maybe this. Yep. So I'm going to edit this and have it say 10x16. It's really 10.5, but this tells me which one it is. And I'm going to say okay. So when I do that, then I can merge 2 into one file. And you could do it with, let's see, if you did the 8x12s, you could do 2 in one hooping. It would be very tight, but it's definitely doable. Yeah, because the fabric is 4.5. So you'd have to watch it to make sure that the fabric doesn't overlap, but it's definitely doable. A 9x14 will definitely work. I might actually even do that instead of the 10x16, save a little stabilizer, but I haven't decided for sure. But I wanted to just show you how to merge them so that you have 2 in one hooping if you decide to do that. So you'd have to do it on all of the design files that you're going to use. So like I'm going to use this 14. I'm most likely going to start with the 14, do a 7, and then a 14. So I would do it for the 14 file and then also for the 7 file. And it's very easy to do. You saw how I did it with the inner borders. So if I go ahead and I move this over here to the far end, and I'm going to try and line it up. This is my center guide. Look at how funny it's got it. So this is one that I haven't worked on before, and it does this little. I can change that though. Remember we did that on a different tutorial. All right, so there's one. Let me see if I can remember how to do that just so I don't have my grid quite so busy. If I go to preferences, display settings, oh, it says it's on 1 inch. All right, so it's just because it's so big, the hoop. All right, so anyway, so that is the first one. So before I copy and paste to get a second one, what I would do is change this, because you can see we have default blue. I'm going to click some more. Default blue, default 2 orange, default 1 blue again, and then the light orange is good and the turquoise is good. But that first default 1 blue, we would want to change it. So I am going to add my batting right onto my strips. So I can delete steps 1 and 2, but you know me, I'm going to go ahead and keep it just so that I can tell everybody, or I can remember to tell everyone to bypass it for those that use the technique where the batting is already attached to the strip. So I'm going to keep it, but you could easily delete it. You just click on it and click delete on your keyboard. But for me, I'm going to just change the color. That makes it very simple. I'll choose, oh look, it's on Madeira. How funny when you switch from different computers, how things are different. But again, it doesn't matter, so I'm just going to click, what is it? Blue. Madeira thread chest blue. All right, so anyway, all the other ones are different, and so that was the only one that I needed to change. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the whole design, and I'm going to hit Control C and Control V. It will copy right onto the other one, so I just grab onto it and move it over, and now I have 2 in 1 hooping. So I can't, if I left it like this, as you probably know, it will run all of the first quilting design and then it will go and do the second one. And that's totally fine, but it's easier and faster if we do a color sort. So that's what I'm going to do. So this is the second one. You can see that the colors did change and stay to what I wanted. So that's perfect. So I'm going to go to Utility Color Sort. And it has been reduced by 5 color changes. I'm going to click New View so I can make sure that it is how I want it. And the first one is the batting placement. That's the one that you can delete if you're doing the technique I'm going to use with adding the batting onto the design. The second one is the batting tack down. The third one is the placement stitch for the strip. And the fourth one is the tack down of the strip. And the last one is the quilting design. So that's perfect. So I would go to File, Save As, Save Stitch File As. And I'm just going to save it to my desktop for ease. And I'm going to say that this is the 4x12 twice. And click Save. All right, so I don't have my luminaire with me, and so I can't send it to my file, or I can't send it to my machine. I have my Dream Machine with me, and so, but you know how to do that. I've shown you how to do that for all of those with a luminaire or Solaris. You can send it directly to your machine. You just have to set it up first, and you would go to this utility, Send to Solaris. So then you're all set. So I am going to transfer this to a USB, and I'm going to go ahead and start with the 2 strips for the first hooping, and I'm going to do the same process when I do the 4x7 design. So like, don't forget, you need to do it on all of the ones that you're going to use so that you can group them together. So that should be easy, and let's go ahead and get started. Well, after showing y'all how to put extras in the hoop, I realized I have the wrong hoop. I made it for the 10x16, and I'm using my Dream Machine right now. So I am just going to do singles. I'm using my 8x12 hoop, and I'm doing the 4x12 first. So just so you know. How pretty is that? Oh my gosh, I love this. Super cute. Hey everyone, so just like we did for the inner borders, we are going to get our placement stitch for our outer border, and then we are going to take the first part that we already did and fold it back, and you can see from the stabilizer where that ends, and just fold it back, make sure it is straight and even, and then you're going to put this part in the placement box right up at the top, fold back the top part and tape it in place. Okay, so just like I was saying, fold it in half, get it exactly inside of the box right up at the top, fold it back, and then tape in place. And then you're going to run your second hooping same as the first. Make sure to advance through the first two steps, that since we already have our batting attached. Hopefully you can see that. All right, and all ready for the second hooping. Hey everyone, so like I was saying, to do the outer borders, it's a good idea to measure the full width before you put on your the top and bottom borders, obviously, but you also can at that time measure the full length as well. That's a good time to do that before the borders are put on. You can do it after, and I'll show you, but if you do it before, you would be measuring the entire length of the quilt before the inner borders. If you haven't done that, and like I didn't actually, so I am going to measure mine using my little tape measure right down the middle, and I'm not going to measure this part. So I'm just measuring from the inner border to the top of the inner border. But what I'm going to do is add on a 1/2 inch, because obviously it's already lost a 1/2 inch with the sewing the top and the bottom on together. So it would have been a 1/2 inch larger. So when I measure it now, it's 32 inches from the bottom to the top of the borders, the inner borders. So I'm gonna cut my outer borders at 32.5. That's mine. You have to measure your quilt to see what works for you, but mine measures 32.5. It's with that seam allowance, because we're going to want our 1/4 inch seam allowance. So measure from the center, and that will determine your the strips for your outer border. So I already cut those. I already backed them with fusible stabilizer. I haven't trimmed them yet. So this is the full width of fabric, but I'm going to trim this to 32.5 inches. And then I'm also going to add my batting. I haven't done that yet. I haven't cut my batting. My batting I will cut to 32 inches. So these will be 32.5, and then I am going to cut the batting to 30 inches. And I'm going to adhere it on just like I did for the inner borders and for the top and the bottom. And it will, as I get toward the end, so I'm going to start it with a 1/4 inch down so that I have my seam allowance up there, and I'll have my seam allowance on each side. So it's going to be, I should say, 32 by 4. These are 44.5 times width of fabric. So that means we want our batting at 4 inches so that we have that 1/4 inch seam allowance on each side. And so I'm going to start at a 1/4 inch from the top, and then as I'm pushing it down with my glue stick, you know, I really like this little purple glue stick. That works really well for me. So do what works for you. Spray works fine too. So anyway, as I'm pushing that down, it will probably be too long. Each time I've done it so far, it's been too long, even though I'm cutting it the right size, because you're pushing it down and adding it to the fabric already. So I am just going to make sure to check when I'm at getting close to my 1/4 inch from the end of my 32.5 inch strip. I am going to trim my batting before I get to there so that I make sure to have my 1/4 inch seam allowance on each side. So anyway, that's it. So we are going to work on these 2 strips, and then we will actually have our top done. So don't forget, I forgot to mention, I think I mentioned it earlier, but lots going on. So make sure to have your orange peel blocks. So after you get these to whatever length your quilt is, like I said, mine is 32.5. So once you get that, then you are going to make sure to sew an orange peel block onto each end of your last strip. So the last 2 strips, I should say, the top and the bottom strips for the length. We're going to put one of the orange peels on. And like I mentioned earlier, don't forget to check your orange peel direction, however you want it. But there, if you look at the cover photo, it shows that they're not all the same. They're not all like this. I think it's like this actually. So either way, but check how you want yours and check against the cover photo if you want to do the same as the an original or the official Kimberbell quilt. So I think we're all ready to get started. Don't forget your batting. So also, as far as the quilting, I believe it's Spring Border 1 that we're using. It's the one with the super cute wagons. And look, I did mine in a little darker teal so that I can really see it. I really like that. It's so cute. So like I mentioned on the first, the top and the bottom strips, if you have to look at it on your software or on your machine and determine how you want it to look. So if you do the 10-inch one, the orientation of it is right. The 12-inch one, because it's shorter, they had to make it the last wagon straight to be able to fit into that hoop. And that's fine too. But if you don't want that, then you have some other options. I think what I'm probably going to do is 14, 7, 14. I think that's what I'll do. I have to look at it again in software. I don't remember. My dog is having fun with my batting. Anyway, so I just check how you want yours to look. I am pretty sure I'm going to do 14, 7, 14, but I will check, and I'll add a little note on this video on which one I finalized on. So anyway, Spring Border 1. Hey everyone, and look, our quilt top is done. I'm very excited. Finally. So I want to point something out. So there was some discussion on whether the outer borders on the sides should go in or out, where the direction of your wagons. It's totally up to you. So if you look on the cover photo and in the directions, it doesn't show. So you get to decide, do it however you want. I decided to have mine with the wagons going out. Like the way that I saw it is it kind of frames it. So that's what I decided. I looked at it both ways and I decided I liked it this way better. But do it however you want to do it, however you think looks the best. And that's about it. So it's all done. I can't wait to see yours and have this done. That will be really exciting. So the next step, I'm sure you can imagine, is we are going to add the backing, and we will go through it step by step, but get your outer borders done first.